Hello and welcome. And I nearly said good morning, but it could be good morning, good afternoon, good evening, even because we've got a guest today on our JobAdder Academy 6. I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. I'm joined by Idris Kamara from JobAdder and also Chris South from Roi-AI. And Chris, where in the world are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Auckland, New Zealand. So balmy. It's a late 9 o'clock at night over here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, literally the other side of the world. So I'm here more as an observer today. These academy sessions I usually get involved with, but actually today is all about using bespoke automation to build more pipeline. This is our building pipelines series. It's not my world. So I'm going to pass over to the gentleman. Let's give them an introduction as well. And you can just say a little bit about yourselves. That would be lovely. Idris, if you'd like to go first.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Idris, one of the senior account executives at JobAdder. I help recruitment agencies of varying sizes be more efficient and more effective through their database technology. I've been in recruitment sales for 4 years. I spent 6 years working in recruitment myself, doing project program change management across HR tech. And it's really nice to be on this call.
Thank you so much. And then Chris, give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Chris. So I was a recruiter a long, long while ago. Oddly enough, I'm British, but I've never actually recruited in the UK. I started my recruitment journey here in New Zealand, then spent a little bit of time in the US. But I left recruitment. Well, I left being a recruiter maybe 10 years ago now. I've run an outsourced marketing agency for a number of years, and then for the last 4 or 5 years, been really uber focused in automation and more recently the AI side of things. So currently CEO of Roi-AI. We're an automation SaaS product that integrates exclusively with JobAdder, but also worked on a number of other tools, as I say, around AI and other areas as well.
Fantastic. So, I mean, it always shocks me, I must admit, when I see sort of 10 years AI automation experience, but I forget it's been around a long time, hasn't it? It's just the layman like me, really ChatGPT brought it to our mind. So what made you get into that field so long ago?
Yeah, and to be really, really clear, it was more machine learning than AI when I first got my exposure to it. But it was really the move into tech. It sort of naturally happened as I went into marketing as a service. We started using a lot of tech and then looking at ways to build tech. Realistically, I've been in the automation sector probably 5 or 6 years, which is more than most. But I think there's just so many gains that can be had from automation and AI at some point. I'm still not convinced we're there in the AI revolution. We're in very early stages, but it can save recruitment agencies a lot of money. It can also create lots of opportunities and leads that you might otherwise not be able to get for your team. And obviously, we're going to look at some of those today.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, perfect link there. So let's have a look at yeah, our agenda for today then. So we're going to start off with nurturing prospects sourced through from LinkedIn, promoting anonymous candidate profiles and top talent, identifying leads based on customer activity or recruiter inactivity. I'm really looking forward to that, but that seems amazing. You got a bonus as well for us, and any Q&As if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or here on Crowdcast, stick them in the comments or the chat, and I'm going to be zooming around. So I'm going to leave the guys to go through this, and I'm going to be zooming around and grabbing your questions. So if there is anything you would like to ask, then please do. If not, then obviously if you're watching this on playback, then I'll put Chris's link in there so that you can approach him if there's anything you'd like to ask further. Okay, over to you two.
All right, cool. So I'll jump in here, Regis, and give it a bit of an overview if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. Please.
All right, sounds fantastic. So, how does automation help? Well, there's millions of different things that automation can do, but in my eyes, these are some of the main ones. So, I, as a recruiter, and I was speaking, I think yesterday, to a leader of a recruitment business, And, it wasn't a particularly big recruitment business, but someone that runs a bit of a lifestyle type company. They're very, very, very successful. And she's been recruiting for a long, long while. And she said, someone started work today and I completely forgot that I'd placed them. I forgot they'd started. And, as I say, she's been recruiting for years. And just the automation could simply either provide that person with a reminder that they need to do something, or could take care of the automatic reach out to the person to see how they've got on. Like, that's one really simple example. And it's got nothing to do with BD, that particular use case I've mentioned, but it just provides prompts to prevent forgetfulness, and we're all guilty of it. That leads into sort of carrying out things on behalf of the recruiter. Again, we're not talking replacing the recruiter's job, but things that are very administrative focused or easy for systems to do. They could do that, and the recruiter can then deal with the response, what comes back in, as opposed to having to deal with the outbound element. And to that point, it can help you communicate at scale. So we're all human. We've only got 40 hours in a week. Some of us work a lot more than that, I appreciate, but there's only so much we can do. I know I do. So, having a third party doing work for you just increases the output that you can get through. It can also provide, in the same way it can remind you of actions you might have forgot, it can prompt you of things that are indicators that you might actually want to take action. So, hey, there's a potential sales opportunity here, or a lead that you want to engage with. And ironically, and I think a lot of people really struggle with this, automation can really help with system utilization. And we all know, and I was one of them, that getting recruiters to use the database and record what's going on is very, very hard to do. But when you've got automation in play, A, it can do some of that for you and it can remind you to do it. But B, if the recruiters aren't utilizing the system properly, then automation tends not to work as well as it should do. And once the recruiters start looking a bit silly because they've forgotten to do something and something is automated when it shouldn't have, very quickly they're sort of brought back into the importance of actually putting things on the system. So we found definitely over the last few years, once automation's in, recruiters actually become a lot more attentive to the key bits of information that actually need to be applied to the system because they see the long-term benefits.
I can hear recruiters and especially their managers shouting hallelujah around the world at that point. So Phil.
Oh, you've gone on mute there, Angela.
Yeah, sorry, Angela, you went on mute there.
I was too quick for myself. I would say feel free to share how that's going to work. Oh, is there like a double thing going on here on the slide? But it says nurturing new process source from LinkedIn or anywhere.
Yeah, I'll talk to the slide, so we don't need to worry about it, but there definitely is a bit of a double up going on there. So what we've got here, and you don't even need to see the contents of it, is basically a nurture journey. And now, when we talk nurture journeys, the first thing I would like people to do is to forget about those things that we all get, where you get person A emailing you, then they email you 10 minutes later, then again, and they've called you the wrong name 4 times, and they've tried to sell you hair shampoo and then a car seat and all this sort of stuff through really poor nurture sequences. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is multiple touch points with BD prospects. And it doesn't have to be email like crazy. So if we look at this sequence here, and I've picked on, you found a prospect on LinkedIn, but it doesn't have to be a prospect on LinkedIn. It could be, another contact you found through another way, or even an older contact on the database you haven't spoken to in a long while. But if you think about it, the recruiter of old, we'd pick up the phone, we'd try and get through to someone, we wouldn't get through, we'd put the phone down, we might leave a voicemail, we'd send them an email, we'd move on, and we'd probably forget about that prospect for 6 months and then go, oh, yep, we'll reach back out to them. And it's always a cold outreach. So what we're trying to do with nurture is, A, we're trying to give us a better chance of hitting someone at the right time when they're in a buying behavior, but also make it so that you're going from a really cold prospect to something slightly warmer for the right reasons. So this sequence, not particularly complicated at all. We add someone to the database, either from LinkedIn through a tool like Parsley as an example, but obviously you can find contact details and add them straight into a tool like JobAdder as an example. And then there might be a delay after you've added them into the system. And then the system might automatically send an outreach email. Just, a very standard hi, I'm this recruiter, I do this, can I help you type communication. Then there might be a delay. And then the automation would look to see whether the recruiters had any interaction back from that person. If they haven't, it might then send a reminder to the recruiter saying, hey, maybe you should connect with this person on LinkedIn, or hey, maybe you should send this person an email, or maybe you should message this person on LinkedIn. However it's been set up, I mean, I'm just talking one flow here. You can have it configured however you wish. So it might be send them a connection request, wait a few days, have we spoken to them? No. Send them a message, wait a few days, have we spoken to them? No. Wait a few more days, again, have we spoken to them? That's a really important bit, so they're not getting messages when we have. And then it might be send them a second email. And that second email might be an expansion on the first one. It could be a forward of the first one saying, hey, just in case you missed this, I wanted to check on X, Y, Z, whatever that is. And then again, it can have a pause. And then it might come back and say, hey, recruiter, it's about time you tried to call this person. Now, I can hear, as I'm saying this, people saying, well, they should have called right at the beginning. And that's absolutely fine. You can have a sequence so it goes, added from LinkedIn, call them, didn't get through to them, do the next parts of the sequence, and there could be a call at the end. I like this sequence because it's warming the prospect up. And at least by connecting with them on LinkedIn, or even, engage with a bit of their LinkedIn content or whatever it may well be, by the end of the funnel, you're hopefully not a completely anonymous voice. They might have heard from you, and you could then put it so that it loops and it picks this person back up at some time in the future. And importantly here, obviously I run an automation business, so I'm slightly biased, but I saw in the last session you did, Angela, you had a spreadsheet where you looked at sort of different activities that a recruiter could do, or different touch points with BD prospects. That for me is perfect. That's a really good way of doing it. All we're doing here is adding a bit of automation in, so you don't necessarily have to go through the spreadsheet and look at it. But
yeah, we try to, whenever we do the JobAdder sessions, we always make sure it's, because not everyone's going to have JobAdder, and it might be something that's in their plan, it might not be. So the key is okay, we'll give you different options, we'll give you ways that you can do it whether you have or you haven't, so that everyone can take advantage. And we'll be picking up on that again on session 3. So thank you for pointing that out, really helpful.
Just to add,
no
what
problem.
I really like, oh sorry Chris, I was just going to say what I really like about this. Yeah, sorry, go on, you can go, apologies.
I was going to just add to Angela's point and say, like, everything we're talking about today is accessible in other products. It's automation 101. So I'm not here saying buy us, we're the world's best, we think we're pretty good, but it can be done using other products or through more manual methods. It's just doing it that's important.
I was just going to add in terms of on your point, Chris, what I really like about this and Angela's is it's more of a jab, jab, jab rather than a knockout. Yes, absolutely, the phone's fantastic. It's the quickest way to get to the no effectively, or hopefully the yes. But ultimately, we want to get to a point where we are more recognized. We are perhaps someone that they think of when they do have an opportunity, and that will only happen over a prolonged period of time, trying to engage with that person. And I also like the prompts as well. When I was a recruiter, I had calendar invites. Very easy to just dismiss a calendar invite or snooze a calendar invite indefinitely. A prompt just means that I'm going to get things done, and I'm very task orientated. So being able to just tick things off automatically and knowing that I'm going to be able to do more work with less effort is going to be advantageous to me.
Yeah, spot on. I was the same with those calendar invites. You think it's a good idea at the time, but
suddenly you've got 90 tasks, you're like, what happened? Guys, if you ever take a holiday, forget about it.
Yeah, do not. All right, well, let's move on, shall we? So this has to be my all-time favorite method of BD that I used when I was a recruiter, and I use a more modern version of now. But what we're seeing on the screen here is a very simple thing. The clients received an email. That email contains some featured profiles. They're able to click that and go through to the website and look at more detail on those profiles, and then make an inquiry about them. But just peeling that back a little bit. So when I was a recruiter, I'm going to say week, but it can't be every week. It must have been once a month. What we would do is we would bundle up our top talent, 5, 6, 8 profiles, and we'd print them off and put them on an A4 bit of paper, and we'd run 100 or so of those off. And then we ask our administrator in the office to mail merge a group of contacts and then post them out to those contacts. And every time we did that, we got at least one high quality job called in, at least one, often many, many more. And, that was more than 10 years ago now that I was doing that. And email marketing and all that sort of thing did exist then. But we did that because no one else was doing it. And I was chatting to someone the other day who says they still do things like that, but they actually handwrite the address because people get a handwritten envelope, even an envelope these days. They're like, what's this? And they're fascinated by it. And so if you want a way to get your brand differentiated and to be remembered, don't just think about the digital solution, think about offline. That said, I'm going to talk about the digital one here. And so you don't need to be particularly complicated with the tech. It's just a case of some form of email marketing. Make your profiles visible and easy for people to view. Obviously, keep them as anonymized as you possibly can. It's a bit different from a CV float. A CV float is generally, it's got that person's details or maybe the emails removed. But this is, hey, here's a selection of the top people that we have available. And what the best agencies I find do is they do it at a set frequency. So maybe it's once a month, this email goes out. And the really good agencies are super targeted. So they'll say, here's our top talent in the software development marketplace. Here's our top talent in nursing in Southeast England, whatever it's going to be. So it's super targeted and relevant. Obviously, they make it easy for people to unsubscribe and they might include other content, but it's front, right in, it's consistent. So they know it's coming and it's not annoying. Well, hopefully not annoying, and it's good quality content that's coming through. Now, obviously, clients might come back and say, I'm interested in that profile. In my experience, half the time they come back saying, quite like that profile, but actually I'm looking for this. That's cool. You've got a job. Even better, include a button on the email saying register a vacancy here. And they can just, because people don't like talking to people anymore, they can click that register vacancy and it comes through like, I really like that. What we're looking at here is actually taking it a step further and having a dedicated page on the website that's updated directly from the database, which this piece of software does, which isn't mine. And that then pulls out of JobAdder anonymized profiles onto the website, which clients could actually be given a link saying, hey, you could check out our latest talent on this page. So I really like that. That's an example there of one of our customers. The other good thing about doing this via email as opposed to post is you can see if your clients are clicking on links. So you can automate leads. If a client clicks on a link, send me an alert. If a client's score goes over a certain amount, send me an alert. So you can call them even if they haven't come back to you with an inquiry, if they've engaged with the content you're sending to them.
Brilliant. Also, just to add, this demonstrates your knowledge in their sector because you're sending it to people that are relevant. This is the caliber of candidates that I have. It might not be right away. It could be 3, 6, 9 months down the line. I do remember that they do have those people. They do know our industry. Go to them rather than the generic agency down the road that just sends them everything and anything and doesn't really know about us. So we always talk about personalization when I do marketing to recruitment agencies. This is a really great way of doing that and setting yourself apart from the competition.
100%. And the more personalized you can be with anything like this, the better your results.
I've worked out what the double thing is. It's whenever I come back to Crowdcast, it doubles itself up. So that's me. I'm putting my hands up there. But this was something that that we, like you say, used to do it sort of 10 years ago. I can remember 35 years ago creating this list, sending it out on a fax. It used to go by envelope, and then a couple of years later we got a fax. Got very excited. So this is a staple of what recruiters do. So if they're not doing it now, where's that got lost? Because it's your window, isn't it? It's your shop window. Here we go. Here are these people, and as Idris was saying, here's your opportunity to say we've got the people. And certainly when it's a candidate-driven market, clients are going to jump at this. They're going to be really excited by the fact there are available people that look suitable. And as Idris said, it doesn't matter. It's not just about now. it's about the future as well, and grabbing those opportunities first before they go out to market, because they know they've got you. So it puts you ahead of the competition by doing this as well. So I love that. Was there anything else to add on this one?
Oh, just the other way. I mean, we're talking BD here, but do the same thing to candidates. Here's my jobs. And, it's your shop window, the amount of businesses that don't do either of those, and yet they expect to have a good brand. It baffles me, because that's your product.
Yeah, and that's going to help build your pipeline, not just for now, but like you say, for months ahead. And that's the key thing here. We're so caught in the here and now as recruiters, because we know it's like 15 jobs in one. There's so much to do that actually planning ahead can be quite difficult for a lot of people. So if you've got your automation doing it for you and utilizing all your resources, then what a great way of doing that. But you can do it good old analog ways as well. It doesn't have to be digital. It's just going to take you a lot more time and effort. So that's why we're here to share the other ways that you can be doing this. Okay, moving on.
All right. I really like this one. I'm going to just zoom in on my screen just so I can see exactly what I've got there in terms of the figures we're looking at here. But basically, we're all going about our business, and you're talking about pipelining. And so we generally know, if we go and see a client in person, or we get a Zoom meeting with them, or if we register a job with them, or if we have an interview with them, they're generally someone that is going to buy from us at some stage. I mean, you get the odd time waster and things, but most of them are a decent prospect. It might not work out. They might fill a role directly. They might, go through financial issues, whatever it is, but they've been a good customer at some point. What I already mentioned can happen is they then, you finish working that job. Even if you fill that job, you might then not speak to them for a period of time because you're busy with something else, and you forget all about it. What automation can do for you, and this trigger, which everyone's probably going to struggle to see, but I'll explain it, basically says, if I've visited someone in the last 4 years, you could add to visited, had an interview, place someone with it, whatever, in the last 4 years. But in the last 6 months, I haven't engaged with them. I haven't had a BD call, haven't had a client visit, whatever, in the last 6 months. Then I want to be alerted that prospect needs to be reached out to, because we know they're a buyer at some stage. So, tell me, and then I can get in touch with them and see if I can help them. I mean, you could add loads of other automation to it. After 6 months, you could start sending them automatic emails. But as you probably could tell from this, although I run an automation business, I know when automation is too much. And so I'd far rather the recruiter was picking up a phone at that point. It's about having a prompt saying, hey, there's an opportunity here or could be here. You've already done all the hard work. You've built some sort of relationship. Now you forgot about it. Get hold of them.
Yeah. Dating back to the old adage that it costs more to go and find new business than it does to retain the business that you've already worked really hard to find. Think about the amount of hours spent finding candidates, meeting, traveling. We want to keep those people. And it is, as Angela said, a candidate short market, but it's also harder to find jobs at the moment as well. So we need to keep hold of these people. We need to keep them nurtured, need to keep them warm. It's a really great way of ensuring that if I'm a team leader, I know my colleagues are doing this. And if I'm a recruiter, I'm not going by tasks in my calendar to make sure this is getting done.
Yeah, spot on. Which leads us nicely into the next one, which is is it the reverse? Yeah, I guess it is. But so this works really, really well for businesses that have some form of marketing. I mean, even if you're just doing what we were talking about earlier, where you're marketing candidate profiles and marketing jobs to either party. If you've got some sort of automation baked in there, you can get alerts when your customers are active. So, did your customer visit your website? Did they click on a particular link? Has their activity score gone over a certain level? That, whatever the parameter is. Again, it's not specific to our product. There's lots of products out there that do this. And then you can get an alert saying, hey, this customer's just demonstrated a buying behavior. And that's the really hard thing as recruiters, right, is to know when's the right time to call one. And it's a bit of potluck. You call them and they're in a bad mood, or they're not hiring, and then the next day someone leaves and they're hiring again, but you've missed it and another recruiter's caught it. So if you've got this buying behavior, it just gives you the opportunity to get hold of them at the right time, and hopefully get more leads coming in.
So this is the old buying signal, isn't it? But you don't have to be there. It's going to be identifying it for you without you having to have all those conversations.
Yeah, 100%. But it's all packaged up into one, right? You've got to do the groundwork. If you're sending out monthly newsletters and things like that, that's where you're going to get the buying signals from in the first place. Even if no one's actually coming back to you and engaging with you, but they're engaging with your content. And to my old marketing life, if you're writing blogs and sending out EDMs and creating salary guides and all that value add stuff, most people do all that stuff and never track it or see what's going on. But if you bake it into some automation and you're promoting a salary guide, you can see everyone that's downloading it, which is another buying signal. And there's an opportunity, there's a lead to go after. So, this one, you can do it with minimal work, but if you package it into a bigger strategy, what we're talking about creating a pipeline, then it's a really effective way of doing it.
Fantastic. Right. Got a couple of minutes left. We need to get your bonus in.
Yeah. Okay. So I was putting all these notes together, and I suddenly remembered I hadn't included this one, so I had to include it because it's always been my favorite. So really, really, really simple. You as a recruiter have just spent ages finding a candidate. The candidate was brilliant, and then the client phones you up and says, "I've hired someone directly, or I've hired someone through another agency," or your candidate falls out, any of the above, and you lose the job and you lose the deal, and you're dark on it. And you move on to the next big thing and you forget all about it. What this workflow does is once the job is closed and you use one of those categories of fill through other agency or whatever, it will then sit dormant for a period of time, let's say 60 days. And then it would automatically reach out to the client and say, "Hey, I'm just following up. 60 days ago, you said you'd hired someone for this role. How are they getting on?" And if they're not working out, you're going to be the first one in line to be ready to rehire that role. So it's and it puts you way ahead of anyone else who's completely forgotten to follow those things up. So it's a bit sneaky, but I think it's super good. You're not just doing your own candidate care, you're doing someone else's for them.
We train it. It's something that's critical to do. That aftercare service, doesn't matter if you placed them or you didn't. Can I just ask why the 60 days, why that was chosen?
Well, I work on the basis that if you've hired someone, they're going to have 30 days notice, and it's going to take 30 days to work out whether they're good or not. So 60 days feels about right, but you could do it, close to their start date to see if they turned up. So you could program it to do it at 30 days when they start, and then 45 days later, sort of halfway through the role. It's whatever you think works best for your business.
Because there's sort of 3 critical times with a new starter: 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. So I would want this going out at the 3 weeks to make sure that everything's okay, because at that point they know if there's an issue or not. And I don't want to wait for the notice period. I want to get in there while they're thinking about replacing them. So that's just my opinion. Idris, what's yours?
I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of that 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, but having those multi-layered touch points to ensure that you're not missing out and you are engaging with that client, that you're, I'm a trusted partner, just want to check if things okay. How can I help? There's a sales adage called always be helping, which is better than always be closing. So always be helping, always be trusted, be authentic. Things will come back to you. And I think ensuring that this message is going out at those touch points is a great way of doing that without you having to stop, think about it. You can focus on other things which are higher value tasks, which is, as I always say, finding new business and opportunities or candidates as well.
Love that. Always be helping. Love that. That's our adage for today then. If you have any questions, now is the time to get them in, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. So if you're in the chats, I'm keeping an eye on them. If there is anything you want to ask, please do. While we're just taking that moment, just to remind you, the next session is at 12 o'clock on the 3rd of October next week. So our final session in this 6 Academy on building pipelines. We're going to look at that time management, organising, prioritising. And I'm going to be referring back to a lot of this because there's a lot in here already that will help. And Idris, we're going to be looking at activity forms as well and what they are and how they can help.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Come back to there. Rachel Townsvie says hi. I don't know if you know her, Chris, whether she's one of yours or not, but just to say hi to you. Wonderful. That's our 30 minutes. It goes so quickly, doesn't it?
I do have some questions. If
we timed it well.
Yeah.
dive in?
Dive in. Perfect. So, Chris, say you had just started a recruitment agency, five of you in the business. What automations would you initially start with, and why?
Oh, that's pretty easy, Idris. So there's like when we're advising on automation, we always say there's your general housekeeping, business as usual workflows that are kind of mandatory these days, and that's looking after your customers. So, like obvious one, make sure you reject people when a job's closed, and make sure ideally you've got an automation that sends the right message depending on the rejection type. If they're if they're really good, but you couldn't quite help them, send them a message saying that so you could put them in one workflow and then everyone else could get the other type of rejection. Then your customer care in terms of the people you've helped. So, 30, 60, 90-day aftercare clients, candidates, NPS surveys, make sure you're tracking the metrics of your business. How are you performing? That's super important. There's other things like interview reminders and application filtering and stuff that you might put in. And then at that point, I would be saying, well, I need to get some sort of, those things can be on and I don't have to worry about them, but then some sort of consistency of communication going out to my candidates and clients at a set frequency, once a month, once a quarter, so that I can be empowering some of those sales scoring type elements. And then lastly, something cycling through my candidate database to keep those records up to date, so that my database doesn't become the good old graveyard and my recruiters default to LinkedIn. Keep your data fresh so your recruiters are using the right stuff.
Yeah, I really like the last one, keeping your candidates up to date. People change what they're doing. People go from being passive to being active, and you're never going to know that unless either you've recently spoken to them or they've recently updated their details. When I talk about Roi, that's one that I always mention, and interview reminders. When I was in recruitment, the amount of people that would conveniently forget. So, but yeah. I've got another question, if that's all right. Sorry, I feel like I'm taking over. So,
No, go for it.
the automation does make people wary, thinking about all the things we've got to do. How do I build it? What do I need to do? What would you say to those people that are thinking of starting, but they're unsure of how to and what is involved?
I think the first thing to remember is automation these days is accepted. We're not talking ChatGPT, which is still at an unknown quantity. People are very skeptical about it. Automation is here. People receive an email that may be automated. They're not worried that it's automated. They're quite happy to then come back to you. When you book in to see the dentist and you get a text message reminding, it's not the dentist sending you that. He's busy plucking someone's teeth out. It's the automation. But you've been reminded, right? So we're used to and we accept automation. The implementation thing, there's no getting around it. To customize it to yourself does take a bit of work, but it's upfront work that you never need to worry about again. So, you can get all that original stuff I spoke about. You might need to take a few hours out of your day, but then it's gone and it's done. The monthly, newsletters or whatever you're going to do, there's a bit more time involved. You could outsource it to a VA or something of that nature. But on the whole, don't worry about the negatives that can happen. There's always going to be someone that complains or isn't happy. Your competitors are doing this, and they've got to jump on you by now because it's no longer new. It's pretty standard stuff.
I love that it's just in the background. You can focus on the other things, the things that are going to deliver value, say building relationships with candidates, with clients, that will hopefully lead to more revenue.
Spot on.
And remember, you're putting the information in initially, aren't you, like you say? So it can be your personality, it can be you with that information. That's when it's obviously something that's just a pat sentence is what winds me up. That doesn't sound like
and some of the best agencies, they put their real voice and tone in these things, and you can tell. And so people know it's automation, but they know it's been written by that person. So again, they're fine. It's what you said, that one line where it's like, don't do that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris. Really enjoyed that. And again, every time I have one of these sessions where there's automation and my eyes just open up and it makes me want to be a recruiter again. It's the amount of time and effort that we used to spend on all this stuff, and it's so easy now. Thank you so much, Idris, and I'll be back next week on the 3rd. See you then. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.